Hey everyone, today we're taking a look at pages 26 and 27 in your lesson book. So go on and open up to page 26, and you'll see at the top there in our yellow box that we are working with notes on the G string. We have briefly talked about playing these notes. Last year we played a G major scale, which started on open G, but we haven't done a lot of reading of these notes. And that's the thing with this lesson, is that the actual playing itself is not super difficult. It's the same type of playing that you've done on the other strings, but with the reading of the G notes, that's where it tends to be a little bit more challenging. So the important thing with this is that you're practicing it. And the more you read these notes and the more you do this, the easier it will be. So let's just take a quick look at that yellow box. It's kind of an interesting thing on when you play on the G string. Your notes are A, B, and C, the fingers with the notes that you put fingers down for. So it's like the beginning of the alphabet, A, B, C. So that maybe will help you kind of think about this and remember the notes a little bit easier. So for violins and violas, A, B, C are fingers 1, 2, and 3. Cello, it's a little bit different, 1, 3, and 4. And of course, bass is always a little bit different here. Bass, you're not actually working on the G string. You've already done that before. You're learning the very, very low notes, starting with 2 fingers on the E string. So that's your lowest G, 2 fingers on the E string. And then you have 1 finger on the A string, which is B, and 2 fingers on the A string, which is C. So a little bit different in the world of bass, but everyone else is playing on open, starting on open G. It also shows you, at least for the violins, this doesn't affect anyone else, but violins, your notes on G actually go below the staff. They're lower than the treble clef staff goes. So they've added some extra lines below. Those are called ledger lines when you extend the staff down or up. So just keep that in mind. That's what that means. And so we're going to take a look at starting on number 93. This one hopefully should be relatively simple. If you're a violin, viola, or cello, this is all open G. If you're a bass, this is all 2 fingers on the E string. Quarter notes and half notes, stuff we've done before. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good, and I think I forgot to say this, but violins, G is your lowest string. Cellos and violas, it's not the lowest string, that's your C. It's the one right next to it, so your second lowest string. All right, let's move on here to number 94. This is now called Let's Read C. Now, we've all played a different note called C on the A string before. This is a little different. It's a different type of C. Just like how you can play multiple Ds or multiple Gs, every note you can play more than one of on your instrument. So for this note C, if you're a violin, you're going to put 3 fingers down on the G. If you are a viola, also 3 fingers on G. Cello, 4 fingers on G, and then bass, always the different one here. It's 2 fingers on A. 2 fingers on A. Notice this is not all C's. When you get to the last measure, you have C, open G, C. Okay, so important that you catch that. So I'm setting my fingers down. Put down however many fingers you're supposed to play on your instrument. And here's 94. Ready, and... Awesome. Hopefully that was not too bad for you. Now we're going to move on to 95. This new note is B. So violin, viola, 2 fingers, 1 note lower than the note we just played. Cello, 3 fingers, bass, 1 finger on A. If we briefly look through this one before we play it, just quickly look at the notes we have. It's lots of B's for the first 2 measures. Then we have a C, the note that you just played in the last exercise. And the last measure, we have another open G. So they're adding in all of these little notes to kind of give you practice reading them all. So be on the lookout for that. So I'm setting my fingers down for the note B. Ready, here we go. Here's C. Another C. Okay. I have to turn, but you do not. Moving on to 96. Last but not least is A. So bass, I'll say bass first because this is just your open string. But everyone else, violin, viola, and cello, one finger on G. Okay. Again, be on the lookout. There are some different notes here. In fact, starting in measure 3, it starts to look like a G major scale. So we'll play this together here. 94. 1, 2. I'm sorry. This is 96, not 94. 96 with A. Here we go. Awesome, very nice. Now, part of your job this week before we move on to page 27 is to make sure that you play these over and over and over again. I know that the actual playing of it is easy in terms of what fingers you're putting down or how you're moving your bow, but you need to get into your brain what these notes look like. Just like how when you started reading notes on the D string and on the A string, it was really challenging and now it's easy. It takes a little bit of time practicing something before it becomes easy to you. So you need to spend some time on these G notes. Okay, so we're going to again do more of those notes now. I'm looking on page 27 at exercise 97, walking around, and it says, name the notes before you play them. So what we'll do right now, I'm going to finger the notes, however many fingers I would put down for each note, but instead of playing it with my bow, I'm just going to say the note name. Okay. So here we go. C, C, B, B, A, G, rest, G, G, A, B, B, C, rest. Okay, so put down your fingers for C. Your book will tell you how many fingers that should be. We're going to play this together. 1, 2, here we go. Rest. Yeah, very good. Okay, moving on here. Again, they give you an opportunity to practice naming the notes. For whatever reason, the notes on G are the notes that students tend to not know the names of. They'll say, oh, it's 3 on G or 1 on G, but we have a hard time remembering the name. So it's important that we work on this. And remember, it's just ABC. So of all the strings, it's actually the easiest one to remember that for. So 98 gives you the chance to write the note names underneath. And I'm going to ask you to do that part independently on your own. I'll check it at your lesson to make sure it's correct. But you're going to notice that 98 is something we have already played before. It's a G major scale. We just did it from memory and learning it by ear. Now we're just going to play it reading the notes. So we're going to do this together, and it starts on open G unless you're a bass, and then it starts 2 fingers on the E string. Okay, so here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Awesome. Hopefully that felt kind of familiar to you. We did that a lot last year. For right now, we are going to skip 99. If we have time in our lesson in person, we will come back to that, but we're just going to skip it for time right now. And moving to number 100. Can you believe we're already at number 100 in this book? That's pretty impressive since we just started the book in September, and it's just the beginning of December. So now this is where things start to get a little bit tough because you really have to know your notes now. The last couple have been going up like a scale or in a stepwise pattern, so it was kind of easy to tell what the notes are. Now we really have to be able to recognize these notes to make sure we can play the right the correct notes that they're asking us to play. So if we take a look, and we'll actually do this the way we will work on music sometimes and do it 2 measures at a time. So I'm taking a look at measures 1 and 2. Again, we're at number 100. And I see that the first measure has 2 notes that we're going back and forth between. We're alternating between those notes. And those notes are open G and the note B. So right now, and I think this is a good way for you to practice doing this. I'm not going to give you the answer, but I want you to look on page 26. You won't have to flip, but I'm just going to flip back in my book to look at it. At the top in the yellow box on page 26, it shows you the finger pattern for your notes, and you can find that note B and figure out how many fingers you need to play the note B. So right now, look at the yellow box on the top of page 26, figure out how many fingers B is, and that's the number of fingers you'll use in that first measure. Then if we look at the second measure, the 2 half notes, those are A. So if you need to look in the yellow box on page 26, go ahead and do that. Figure out how many fingers A is. This is how you can be practicing at home. Even if you're not watching the video or in a lesson with me, you can figure this stuff out on your own. They give you all the tools you need in the book. So we're going to go G, B, G, B, A, A. Let's do it together. Ready? And here we go. Good. Now I'm on measure 3. This is A, so you just figured out how to play it. You know A. It's actually 1 finger for everyone except for bass. Bass, you have open A. And now we're alternating in measure 3 between A and C. So that's the only note we haven't played so far. If you need to look on C, go ahead and look at the yellow box on page 26. Okay, so we're going A, C, and then the 4th measure is B, B, and you should already remember how to play B from the beginning of this. So I'm playing measures 3 and 4. Measures 3 and 4. Ready? Here we go. Good. Moving on to measures 5 and 6. And violins and violas, you might be wondering why it says 4 fingers over those notes. That's something we have not talked about, and we're going to wait to talk about until a little bit later. So for right now, you can play those as open D, and I promise we will come back to that later. Now we're going D, B, C, C. So again, look if you need to check any of those notes. But right now, here's measures 5 and 6. Here we go. Good. And measure 7 and 8, you can see it looks like a backward scale. D, C, B, A, G, G. So we're starting on open D and then going backwards down to open G. Here we go. Awesome. Let's put it all together. This is exercise number 100 from the beginning. Ready? Here we go. Awesome. Okay, 101, Baba Black Sheep. You might recognize that title. And as we play through this, you'll probably notice that the melody to this is very similar to Twinkle Twinkle Little Star or the ABC song, the alphabet song. There's just some different rhythms in here to match the words of this song. So again, this is kind of a long one. I actually have a page turn in the middle of this. So maybe what I'll do is I'll use the violin book just to make it a little bit easier so I don't have to flip. We're going to go again 2 measures at a time here. So measures 1 and 2 actually should look pretty easy to you. Unless you're a bass, all of these notes are open strings except for one of those notes, and that's an E. Those 8 notes are E, 1 finger on the D string. Okay, so the first 2 measures, let me just play them for you, and then you can do them with me. Okay, they'll sound like this. So again, unless you're a bass, so if this comment is for violin, viola, and cello, you only put a finger down for that note E. Everything else is an open string. Everyone play that with me. Here we go. Good. The next two measures 4 and 5. Again, here's another backward scale. So we're going C, C, B, B, A, G. Check your fingering chart to figure out how many fingers that note C is on your instrument. And here's measure 3. Here I go. Awesome. Let's play measures 1, 2, 3, and 4 together. Ready, and here we go. Good. We're taking a look now at measure 5. These are the 5 and 6 are the last two measures of the first line. And again, you can see this kind of looks like a backward scale. But unlike the last time we did this, we started on C. Measure 5 starts on a D. So we're going to go D, 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 C, 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 B, 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 A. That note that we land on at the end of the line, that low A, is first finger for everyone except bass, and that's open A for you. So we're aiming, unless you're bass, we're aiming for one finger on G, and bass you're aiming to be on your open A. Okay, so it'll sound like this. Let me play it for you once, and then you can try it with me. Try it with me. We're starting on D. Ready, and here we go. Good. And if you move to the second line, if you look very carefully, we've actually already learned everything that's on the second line. So that backward, the thing that we just worked on is at the beginning of the line of the second line. And then if you look at the third measure of the second line, that is exactly the same as the beginning. You may have remembered that structure or that form of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star when we learned that last year, how it's kind of like two things that are identical with something a little bit different in between. So we actually don't have to even learn the bottom line. We can go right now and play through number 101 together. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good, and hopefully you caught this. I actually misspoke a little bit. The first measure of the second line is slightly different than the part before. It's actually just a little different rhythm that's been flip-flopped. The eighth notes and the quarter notes are in different places, so hopefully you caught that. What I just played was the correct thing, was what's written on the paper. Okay, last but not least, 102, This Old Man. I'm guessing most of you know this melody. And this is, I always kind of have the last one be a challenge that you can work on, and we're not really going to go through it together. I'll just play it for you. So here's what 102 sounds like, This Old Man. 1, 2, 3, 4. Awesome. Alrighty. So that's little bit of an introduction to notes on your G string. Make sure you spend some time working through these so that you can play them with confidence when we work on them in your lesson. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you soon for a lesson.